Still on the Nigerian law school, I want you to help me understand what is one thing about the Nigerian law school nobody actually tells you until it's too late.
Well, the thing is, basically, I think it's on you, first of all, to make sure that before you go to the law school, you've done your research, you know all you're supposed to know about the law school, how the system operates, what you're going to face, because personally, that is what I do. And instead, I would think there is one thing that nobody tells you until it's too late, and it's not in terms of anything negative, right? It's the fact that the bar finals is the easiest exams you can ever write. It's the fact that law school is not all that. It's the fact that law school is totally conquerable. It's the fact that you don't have to go through law school afraid, anxious, or depressed. And by the time you discover that law school is not all of that, it may be too late, because you may have spent all the time, you may have spent your weeks in depression, just buried down the weight of the struggles that you have at the law school. But trust me, it's not all of that. And in fact, to be very opposite, right? It's not all that. It's something that is totally doable. It's something that is totally conquerable. But a lot of persons don't know that until it's too late.
And that's quite deep. In your 9 months of staying in law school, was there actually a moment where you felt like, oh no, I'm not going to make it? Was there a moment where you felt like giving up?
Well, yeah, there was a time, right, after we left campus and then we went home. In fact, like 1 week before we left campus, I just couldn't study. I didn't read because, emotions were high. I was going to go home, couldn't really read. And then throughout those 2 weeks break, I didn't study like that. So when I came back and I wanted to start again, the volume was a lot. I didn't even know where to start from. I was like, God, what is this? Where am I going to start from? But then I just took the first step. I started, and from there, I got my groove, and then I continued, right? So I think that was one moment that stood out for me, and I was like, oh my God, this thing is so much. And there were some other moments where you read and read and read, and then you see that, you still have a lot to go. In those times, there's what I did, right? I think there was this music that was trending then by, what's his name again? Joy is Coming, right? So I'll just play that track and tell myself Joy is coming. The program is just for 9 months. I think it's Fido, yeah, Joy is coming. Yeah, exactly. I can see it in my head. And then I was surprised. And then tell myself Joy is coming. All of this is temporal, and then I move on. So there are moments like that. But the difference is allowing those moments to define you or moving past them. I think that's where champions are made.
Still on the law school experience, if you were to actually start law school again with the knowledge you have now, I want to know personally now, what would you do differently?
With what I saw in the law school, and then with what I was able to achieve, I would have told myself, calm down. All those days you were so anxious. You should have just calmed down, because everything was going to be fine in the end. But I think that's part of the journey, and skipping parts of the journey would not make the whole thing as wholesome as it could have been. So in a nutshell, there's not a lot of things I regret, and I don't think there's a lot of I would have done differently. The import of this question is to help other persons that maybe would be going to the law school to be able to do things differently or in a more correct way. And all I will tell them is that please don't be afraid, bold, be disciplined, work really hard, and you would find out that the law school is a totally conquerable experience.
Okay, still on that, you mentioned something that actually touched my mind. I want to know now, what was, in your own experience, the most difficult course you encountered in law school that student needs to actually pay attention to?
You see, the thing with all of these stereotypes, right, is that it gives students this feeling of not being enough, this feeling of inadequacy in relation to those courses that are presumed or that are extolled as really hard. And it's the same thing that I faced in my undergraduate level. In 200 level, the law of contracts. Everybody said, oh my God, that course is so difficult, right? There is a lot of people fail that course. The lecturer is this, the lecturer is that. I went to the law of contracts. I'm not trying to brag, anything like that. But I went to the law of contract. I got both A's, right? in both the first and second semester. The same thing for commercial law. I didn't get an A in commercial law, but it was said that it was really hard. But then I was able to really get really good grades. And the law school, a lot of up to 70 something persons got a first class during my time. And for you to get a first class, you have to have A's across all the 5 courses. So if one course is more difficult than the other, then how can you be able to, why are people still getting A's in that course, right? So for me, the right approach is not to look at any course as particularly difficult, right? It's not to look at any course as particularly difficult, but then to understand the nuances of each course. For a course like corporate law, you may have to give it more attention because it's voluminous, and then there's a lot that you need to know, a lot of procedure that you need to know. So of course you can give it more attention. And then property law, you can give it more attention because it can be quite tricky, right? But then overall, no course was extremely hard. I don't want to sow that perception, right? That some courses are so hard and so difficult. Everything is totally doable. But then don't neglect any course. I'm talking too much, but it's important I get this out, right? For some persons, they felt professional ethics was the most simple course at the law school. It's a very simple course. But tell you what, I've seen very brilliant colleagues that got all A's across all the difficult courses. But then that professional ethics that they felt was so simple, they'll get a B+, and that denies you a first class. You understand? So it's better to give each course the respect it deserves and then do your very best. No one is particularly so difficult that you can't do it. I mean, a lot of persons get A's across all the courses to get the first class. But then, if you can look at corporate law and at an in-depth level, good. You can look at property law at an in-depth level, good. Same with criminal litigation, professional ethics, and civil litigation. Just do your best across all the courses.
All right, thank you so much for that counsel and that word of wisdom. I believe many students will actually navigate their way through moving forward with this on wonderful information that you actually gave us now. I want us to get into the legal profession. Yes, to be precise. This is actually the part B of this conversation. Someone that actually questions a lot of things that we actually see in life, especially when it comes to the educational context. Because there are 3 institutions that have been facing a subtle disagreement, and that is the family, the religion, and education. Now, I want to get this from your own perspective as the best graduating student from the Nigerian law school, outbeating 4,000 law students. Do you actually think or believe the legal profession in Nigeria still produces lawyers or just people who know how to pass exams?
Well, I think